So this is Math 141. This is Calculus 2, and in order to pass Math 141, you have to pass Math 131 so that you will do Math 141. Alright, so in this module we're going to carry on. Right, so we stopped at the definite integral and integrals and all that, but right over here we're just going to use that knowledge as an application. Right, we need to find the error between two curves. Remember that in Math 131 we had to find an error under a curve, so you have to take a definite integral, because your definite integral there's going to be an error. Right, so consider the two curves right over here, the top curve and the bottom curve, the interval from A to B. We need the error that is bounded between those two curves. How can you find the error? So the only thing that you have to do is you have to remember is that the error is going to be equals to the top minus the bottom. That's what you have to understand. Top minus the bottom. So right over here in this case, the top function or the top curve, so let's just say the curve because function is pretty different. Right, so the curve right over here, this is going to be your f at x, and the bottom part is going to be your g at x. So in this case you're going to say the top minus the bottom. Right, there's going to be a top, there's going to be a bottom. So the error is going to be equals to the integral from A to B. That's your integral from A to B of what? Of the top function, the top curve, minus the bottom curve, dx. And then the rest you will have to do the definite integral, which is the thing that you have learned a lot from Math 131. Okay, so let's jump right into an example. Right, so right over here, let's say that find an error of the region bounded by y is equal to x plus 6. And then, okay, so this is example number 1. Right, y is equal to x plus 6, bounded below by y is equal to x squared. Right, we have this by the lines. So we have x equal to 0, and right, there's going to be x is equal to 2. So in this case we've got two curves, right? So how can you find the curve, the error bounded between those two curves? So the first thing that you have to do is to sketch, right? But you will see when doing your tutorials that when you're sketching this, you will be given some pretty complex functions, complex curves, but it's going to be quite difficult for you to sketch those curves unless you're going to have to remember all those shapes from GeoGebra. Right, so at this point the first step that you have to do is to sketch this. Right, so let's just, for now, because in the introduction, let's just sketch this because it's going to be pretty simple. Let's start with this one. So we've got y is equal to x squared, and then we have this y is equal to x plus 6. So I guess it's going to be like this. Right, so that's going to be y is equal to x plus 6. Right, this is not drawn to scale. Now we need the area bounded between these two curves from 0, because they say that we bounded from 0 and then to 2. So we're going to start from 0 all the way to 2. Right, so in that case we need this part. This is the only part that we need. We don't care about the rest of the stuff. So in order to find that, remember that when you draw a vertical line, okay, this is your top curve, and then that one is the bottom curve. So the error right over here is going to be equal to an integral from A to B of the top curve, right, minus the bottom curve. Okay, that's going to be your dx. So right now it's plugging everything. So what is our lower bound? It's going to be 2. No, it's going to be 0 all the way to 2. And then your f at x, this is the top part, which is your x plus 6. Right, so you're going to have x plus 6 minus, in parentheses, the second part, which is the bottom part, which is going to be x squared, and then dx. This is what you're going to have. Right, and then after that you just have to do your definite integral. Right, so we're just going to carry on a little bit from 0 to 2. This will be your x plus 6 minus x squared dx. Right, and then this is going to be a is equals to, let's just solve that real quick. Right, so I'm just going to rearrange everything, but you're going to have x cubed divided by 3 plus x squared divided by 2 plus 6x, and we're from 0 to 2. This is what you're going to have. And then after that, you're going to have to plug in your bounds. Okay, so this is the introduction for the first part. Cheers.